According to the Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, ISIS has developed, at the very least, limited air power capabilities. Now, we've known for a while that both in Syria and in Iraq, they were able to capture some of the aircraft of either the Syrian military or the former Iraqi military. But up until this point, they haven't been able to actually man and use those airplanes. That may be changing thanks to former Iraqi officers. According to Rami Abdul Rahman, the leader of that Syrian observatory, they have trainers, Iraqi officers who were pilots before for former Iraqi President Saddam Hussein. And according to him, in speaking with witnesses in the area, people saw the flights. They went up many times from the airport, and they were flying in the skies outside the airport and coming back, referring to the Al Jarrah military airport. But he does continue in saying it was not clear whether the jets were equipped with weaponry or whether the pilots could fly longer distances in the planes. They generally flew for about 5 or 10 minutes. And they said the witnesses said they appeared to be MiG-21 or MiG-23 models captured from the Syrian military. I don't know exactly how those witnesses were able to identify different MiG models on site, but that's what they're saying. And so that's what we know so far. They've conducted limited test flights according to this one watchdog agency.
Yeah, I'm smelling a little bit of bullshit here. Yeah. So, look, there's real legitimate reasons to be concerned about ISIS. They're down there in Ramadi in a real fight in that town, right? And they're all the way up in Kobani. Like, if you look at a map, you'll see between Syria and Iraq, that's a lot of territory. It doesn't mean they control every inch of it, right? But they have towns, and they haven't fully captured Kobani yet, but they have captured towns really distant from each. There's plenty of things to legitimately be concerned about with ISIS. But in this last week, there's all of a sudden a story about how they have chemical weapons. Okay, that smelled fishy to me, and it was like, oh no, it's okay. Some little group in Israel has confirmed it. Maybe, okay, and now all of a sudden they've got warplanes, and guys on the ground saw planes that were flying low, and they knew what model of MiGs they were.
Yeah, because it has the flappy thing.
Yeah,
so they knew it was the 21.
And who was flying it, and for how long? For only 5 minutes. See, that's also weird. Well, how do you know which guy is flying it for which 5 minutes? I mean, it all smells awfully fishy to me, and it's not easy to fly a supersonic aircraft.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and they say, oh no, but they have Iraqi, Saddam Hussein guys. So the Saddam Hussein guys knew how to fly the MiGs, and maybe some of them, but somehow they got, and then they're in the air.
They had been a part of the Iraqi Air Force at that point. The Iraqi Air Force back in the 80s into the early 90s was actually a fairly capable Air Force. And it's not impossible that they would be trained to fly these particular MiG models. So it's not impossible, but I wouldn't take the word of just this Syrian observatory, which has been criticized in the past for sort of amping up threats to make its case. I don't think that that's enough to prove it. And by the way, even if they have these particular MiGs, I did some research, they're all that capable anyway. And I long said that to the extent that ISIS is like a terrorist organization, they're a big threat, but the more they try to pretend to be a state and to have vehicles on the ground, aircraft, that's the sort of thing that we are amazing at destroying. If they get those MiGs in the air, anywhere near our aircraft, we'll shoot them out of the fucking sky. Like, we don't have to worry about them in a MiG-21 from the late 1970s. That's not a threat.
And this is not a movie where you step into the alien spacecraft and you're like, oh, I don't know, let me try a couple of buttons. Hey, I got it to work.
Jeff Goldblum.
That was a good movie.
Right.
See, and look, I'm very dubious of these groups. You know that there are propaganda groups out there. You know that there's truth. There's a lot of concern about real problems with ISIS. And then there's propaganda groups that want you to do something, and they love to throw out those headlines. They got warplanes. They got chemical weapons. Oh my God, we better make sure we bomb them even more with the wonderful weapons we have from our defense contractors.
Yeah. Wait, actually, can I jump onto that? Because you're totally right. The U.S. military would love to present them as a huge threat, because then they'd get more backing and more funding. But as of right now, Colonel Patrick Ryder of the U.S. Central Command says, "We're not aware of ISIL conducting any flight operations in Syria or elsewhere. We continue to keep a close eye on ISIL activity in Syria and Iraq, and will continue to conduct strikes against their equipment, facilities, fighters, and centers of gravity, wherever they may be." I mean, they would benefit from people being scared of some sort of ISIS Air Force, but they're not even supporting this.
Okay, so the problem with all of this is that, we defeated Al-Qaeda, we got ISIS. We're going to defeat ISIS, there'll be another group, because the conditions are there, right? They didn't just come out of nowhere. The conditions are there for this to happen. So, especially in Iraq, the Sunnis have been completely shut out of the government, and even now they're doing bullshit again where Maliki stops down. He's the fucking vice president. So they're shut out of the Iraqi government, which is why they're siding with ISIS now. So again, this is a problem that's way more complicated than bombing ISIS. We can kill all ISIS, and the problem is still going to be there. So this is, there's no bombs that, again, is not going to fix this. So we've been bombing the Middle East for 14 fucking years straight. Probably longer than that if you consider the first Gulf War and then Bill Clinton. So it's more bombs certainly isn't going to fix this. Is ISIS a threat? I don't know. They're Sunnis. They're going to take over other Sunni. I don't know. Again, I don't see the threat to the United States from ISIS. This is an indigenous problem to the region that can only be settled by the people in the region. That, again, and maybe it has to get worse before it gets better, but the situation there is horrible right now, especially in Iraq, which they should have broken up into 3 places like Joe Biden said, but they did it, and now this is the result.
So that eventually leads to all these headlines, these fear-mongering headlines, leads to the guy that I overheard at the gym yesterday. Saying, you know what the problem is? We're not bombing them enough.
Yes.
Yeah. 14 years is not enough.
That was it. That was our number one problem. And he said, remember the good old days when we'd bring the B-52s? So he wants dumber bombs. He's like, no, but literally. Now he thinks if we bomb them enough, but if you bring the B-52s and you just start dropping bombs left and right, you're killing the people that you are theoretically going to liberate. So, but he doesn't. He just wants to kill more people.
He didn't say anything about liberating, did he?
Turned out
Right.
so well.
Right.
I mean, that's why he wants to use the same
carpet bomb, right?
Roll of thunder.
And now ISIS is controlling some Kurdish territory. So we bring the B-52s and we drop the bombs on the Kurds. Oops, they're our allies. Why did we do that? We just killed all the Kurds. Oh, they were our allies. Now they despise us, and now they're against us. And the answer to that is, well, we got to do more bombing.